Hello guys, so today basically I'll be showing you how to build a football manager tactics all the way from scratch. And one of the things you have to understand in football manager is that every club has a vision of its own, and you as a manager as well should have a vision of your own, because without such vision you might end up having poor result or end up not actually enjoying the game. Because football manager is actually good when you invest, it's enjoyable when you're invested. And for the sake of this study, I'll be choosing Manchester City as the club of choice. I will be creating these tactics on. So this is me selecting Man City. This is just the intro screen welcoming me to the club. Okay, yeah, this is the club. Usually every club usually gives you a 5-year plan, and for Man City we have the play attacking football, develop players using the club youth system, sign high reputation players. That's just it. Okay, supporters culture, play entertaining football, play possession football, finish above Manchester United. Okay. That's that. Okay, now we are at the team section. So one thing you have to understand is that when it comes to FM already has a preset tactics already for every manager. There's a preset style of play. You have the option of choosing the control possession, game press, tiki-taka, vertical tiki-taka, wing play, and so have you, or creating your own style as from scratch, or load tactics. Load tactics is basically when you already have a preset tactics already in the system. You can just load it up and start from there. So, but for new players that are confused, or those who don't know what kind of style of football to use, or trying to start learning something new, I would just advise you to pick any of the style of play that has been preset by FM, and then from there you can tweak from there. Let me show you one of it. Okay, you have the control possession. The control possession, if you choose it, it's already preset for you. You have mentality, balance, in possession. FM has already given you tick the box for you on how this style of play should be played. Okay, and to suggest the best formation for you, which is the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-3-3 or the 5-2. Okay, that's that for that. You can go over here. Game press, mentality, you see is positive, unlike the control possession that was balanced. And what have you, with suggestion of formation that can work for this, you have the 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, and 4-2-4. Okay, that's that, but we won't be going to that, so we'll just dive straight into the create your own style. So by creating your own style, you have the option of choosing a formation. You can decide to choose any of these, but we'll be going ahead with the 4-3-3, which is basically the standard formation of current Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. So you can actually select from here, or you can decide not to select and just press confirm and still tweak it from here, because basically you can create any style of your choice from this tactics board. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use your formation. You can set any of it from here depending on what you want to play. If you want to play the 3-1-2-1-3 or whatever formation you have in your head, you can create them all here. But for the sake of this, we'll be going ahead with the 4-3-3 formation. So that's that. Okay, but before we dive into the player roles, we have to decide what style of play we want to play. And since we are going for the possession type of football, which I'm choosing for the sake of this study today, you can actually create anything of your choice, but for this subject we'll be going with the possession style of football. Maybe in another video I can show you the pressing style, or the counter-attacking style, or the ball style. So that's that. And actually in the tactics board you have the option of creating, in this section, of creating up to 3 tactics of your choice for your players to learn. And this particular area here is the familiarity. Familiarity is basically how well your team understands the formation or style of play. That's it. How well your team understands the marking structure, the tempo, the width structure, or the position, or how to trigger press or when to trigger press. This intensity bar shows is more concerned with how intense your formation is on the player. And the higher the intensity, the more likelihood of your players getting more injured because of the aggression of the press and the tempo and style of tackling and team mentality as well. Okay, for mentality, we have the option of going either very defensive, cautious, balanced, positive, or attacking, or very attacking. But basically, I usually end at this region: cautious, balanced, positive, or attacking, because anything from there, I see that's the extreme. So, balance. For the sake of, based on we are using the position playing style, we'll be going for balance. You can either choose the positive or attacking, but we're going for balance today. Because one of my advice to any football manager is you don't have to choose much. Just pick something, start with an idea, then from there you can tweak it as the game goes. That's why it's advisable to at least watch most of your games or some of your games to understand how well your team play. Okay, we're done with that. So now, in every tactical setting, you have three main structures, and those three main structures are in possession, in transition, and out of possession. In possession is basically what your team does when they are in transition is basically what your team do when they are attacking, either defending or attacking. Out of possession is basically concerned with what your team does. It's just basically the defensive shape your team keeps when they are without the ball. Okay, firstly we'll be going to in possession. In possession, the first thing we have here is the attacking width. So this attacking width is basically how narrow or how wide your team should be. So you have the option of going very narrow, fairly narrow, standard, fairly wide, or wide. And if you observe in this particular box that my arrow is, the more you move it backward, the narrow it becomes. The more you move it forward, the wider the team becomes. So it's basically showing you how narrow or how wide your team has become. So that's that. So for the sake of this, and we are playing the position playing style, normally I can decide to leave it in the standard or fairly narrow. But based on this, I'll be leaving it at the fairly narrow, because we need our team to be more closer to each other in order to reduce the distance the ball has to travel, which is the short pass. Okay, based on we want them to be closer to each other and maintain the triangles. Okay, that's that. So our approach play. How do we approach play? Firstly, we have the pass into space. Passing into space, basically, I would advise against that if you are playing position football. Why? Because passing into space basically means your team playing more forward passes or through pass into an empty zone in the section of the pitch, and by playing that into those empty sections, your players have to run to that place to get the ball. So basically, playing a position football and you are playing passing into space, you might end up losing the ball if the defenders are more faster than your attackers, or they were in the early start in position than your attackers. So basically, we won't select that. So we have how we want to play, our approach to play. Do we play from out of defense, or we focus on the left hand side, or down the right, or through the middle, or overlap? Basically, I don't choose any of this. I basically just play out of defense, and then my team can build from there. Playing out of defense is basically your team building play from the back, starting from the goalkeeper to the center back to the right back, and from there go forward. So basically, I don't focus play on the middle or on the right, so that my team will be unpredictable. So I use play out of defense. But basically, you can still do the focus through the middle if you have very good central midfielders, like let's say Xavi and the Iniestas of Barcelona back then you are good, or the Toni Kroos back then you are good, or Pedri. So you can use focus through the middle and build from the back, but basically I just leave it so that my team be unpredictable. So passing directness or passing style, you can leave it in standard, you can go for shorter, and you can go for more shorter, or you can go for more slightly more direct or much more direct. So basically leaving it in standard basically means you are employing a mixed style of pass, either so your team will plays according to the occasion. Sometimes they may go for shorter passes, sometimes they may go for the long balls, or sometimes they go direct. So basically much more direct basically means you are moving the ball fast and long distance in order to cover long distance in a very short time. So we won't be using that based on building from the back and we are playing a position football. So we'll leave it as short passing. And I would advise against using this much shorter, because much shorter, the team will just end up, just retaining the ball and they will be slower. But basically it depends on what you want to play. So for me, I would go in for the shorter. So tempo, this tempo option basically just means how fast you want your team to move with the ball. So you have the option of slightly lower, as if you are playing a position football. Here you might end up having much more of the possession but end up not taking the initiative, because your team will be more patient with the ball and they won't move the ball forward if they feel they don't have to or there's no space for them. You have the slightly lower, you have the standard, you have the much higher, slightly higher and higher. Basically you using this higher or slightly higher will basically fasten up the pace of your passing and the way your team moves the ball. So you might end up having this end-to-end type of football. But if you are playing the Jurgen Klopp style, I would advise you to use this, keeping your passing at maybe standard or even shorter but higher. You understand? So, but for this purpose, based on we'll be using the Pep Guardiola pattern, you can leave it as slightly lower or standard, but I'll be leaving it as slightly lower. Okay, time wasting. Basically, you're using Manchester City, so you don't really need this time wasting. And for the option of time wasting, I would say it's an in-match instruction, not basically your starting tactical instruction. So you leave it as an in-match instruction in the sense that maybe you doing the match and you are leading by a goal to 0 or ahead of the opposition team and you're trying to close the game. You can use sometimes or frequently. So basically, since you are Man City and you end up most times in this particular FM, most times Man City and Liverpool end up winning the league most of the time. So we will leave it at time wasting, never. So now we have the final third. Final third is basically what your team does when they are with the ball in the opposition penalty area or penalty box. So the final third, you have the option of how do you want your team to cross. Do you want the mixed cross, the floated cross, whip cross, or low crosses? Low crosses is basically it's advisable when you have a shorter but quicker striker. So basically you cross the ball low to the striker, or then you have the floated and whipped crosses are basically when you just have a much stronger and physical and taller striker with good heading abilities. But most times you go for the mixed crosses, whether I have the short or the taller striker, because basically I make use of the inside forward, and so anybody can head the ball for me. So that's that. I use the mixed crosses, but you can choose anything of your choice. So the final third is basically how you walk the ball into the box. So you have the option of, do you go for hit early crosses or shoot on sight? But since we'll be going with the possession football, it's advisable to go walk ball into box So we'll choose that. Walking ball into box is for your team to patiently build the ball from the back down to the opposition penalty box, and then from there wait till there's open chances for them to score. So play for set piece. This instruction is basically you trying to use playing the Arsenal pattern or the Atlanta pattern, where you attempt to score or attempt to win corners or free kick or throw-ins in order to command control of the match in that way. So basically I don't usually use it because I feel like it makes my team play dirty. But I would advise you to use it if you're using a smaller team or a lesser superior team, or you're playing against a superior team that's basically not Man City. That's basically not you using Man City, because by using Man City you end up being the most superior team most of the time, except in the Champions League or when you are playing any of the top teams in the EPL. So we won't use the play for set piece option, but it's advisable if you're playing with a smaller team. Okay, the dribbling section. Yeah, basically I don't usually select any of these. I allow my team. That's why you need your team to have good decision making rate, high decision making rate. So you have the option of dribble less or run at defense. So basically I don't go for any of this. Dribble less is basically your team usually don't dribble often. They just pass the ball around. Run at defense, you have your team going out of their way to build up that one-on-one situation, but I don't do that, so I leave it based on it. I'm making use of the position, but if not, we'll end up losing most of our duels, or if you don't have a good attacker. Okay, and one of the things you have to understand about position football is mostly it mostly help your team when most of the time you are not as good as your opposition. So how will I say? I would say it builds the team to a more, like, it makes them stronger than their whole sum. That's basically how I can explain it. It makes them stronger than what they are. So if you playing this one at defense, you might end up destroying the structure of the team. So I don't choose any of this. Okay, creative freedom. Most times I keep it at more expressive. More expressive will make your players to roam around positions and allow them to switch positions. So you choosing this, you might end up sometimes seeing your striker in the flank and your inside forward at the striking role, or your central midfielder at the striking role, stuff like that. So, or your right back in the midfield area. So that's just it. So basically I used to be more expressive, be more disciplined. More discipline basically means your team tries to keep shape and stay within the structure of the assigned role. So that's that for this. Okay, we're done with the in possession aspect. That's all. So now we'll move to the second tactical system, which is the in transition. Like I said, in transition, it's basically what your team do when they are with the ball, as in what they do while attacking or while defending. So here we have the option of when possession has been lost. So what do you do when possession has been lost? Do you counter press or do you regroup? Since we'll be playing a position football, and one of the main tenets of a position football is basically you trying to get hold of the ball as much as possible. So we'll go for the counter press. So in this box you see the option of your team pressing forward, the arrow, but if you choose to regroup, your team falls back and keep in shape. So for this, I would advise you to use the regroup maybe when you're trying to hold on to the lead, and maybe you're trying to see out the lead and it's already in the 70th minute, or you're trying to hold on for a first leg win or something like that in the Champions League or in the European League or Europa League or something, or Champions League, you use the regroup. But I would advise you to go for the counter press as a starting tactical instruction. When position has been won, you have the option of to counter or hold shape. So this one I would say is optional, but you going for the hold shape, you end up not scoring most of the, like, taking advantage of when the opposition has gone out of shape. So instead I would advise you to go for counter. Counter is basically you immediately seeking to attack and take advantage of any opportunity left by the disposed opponent. Because once anytime your opponent has lost shape and lost the ball, they basically lost shape. So basically you can take advantage through that option. Okay, so we leave it in when possession has been lost, we put it in counter press. When possession has been won, we leave it in counter. So this other option now is basically this section of this box now is basically what the keeper does when in possession. That's your goalkeeper. So you have the option of distribute quickly or slow down pace. Distribute quickly asks the goalkeeper to operate at a quicker tempo when possession, perhaps to increase urgency or instigate counter-attack. So basically we can use this option, or you go for this slow down pace, ask keeper to operate at a slower tempo when in possession, perhaps in a bid to control the game or to waste time. So basically I use the distribute quickly, but I will say you can use the slow down pace as an in-match instruction when you're trying to hold to a lead or a first leg win or second leg win. So that's just it. So we'll leave it there. And this other one, distribute to area and player. Distribute to area and player is basically you distributing the ball to is how the goalkeeper distribute the ball. Does he distribute it to a player or to an area? So basically you have the option of distribute to position or distribute to player and area. So let me explain the distribute to position. Distribute to position, it's you selecting a player or any player in any position you want the goalkeeper to always pass the ball to when he's with the ball. Do you go for any of the center back or any of the full back or any of the central midfielder or any of the striker? So I would say if you're playing a long ball pattern, you can either use the goalkeeper, you can either use your striker or your wingers or what have you. You can use the option, but if you're playing shorter pass, you can use the option of a center back or the full back. So basically, I will advise you if you're using this option to go for it, but I don't use any of this option. But if you use this option, you should go for the center back, because why? If you go for the full back, you only have, if you go for the center back, you have a whole lot of passing range, in the sense that you can either pass back to the goalkeeper if he's being pressed, or you can pass to his second center back, or you can pass to the defensive midfielder or midfield, or even boot the ball away, or pass to his fullback. But if you put any of your fullback if you select your fullback so your keeper can distribute the ball to, there's this artificial line here. So now your fullback basically have just fewer options to pass to, which is either to the center back here or to the winger over here. So basically it's advisable to go for the center back, but usually I don't use that. I go to distribute to area, where I choose distribute to center back and distribute to full back. Why? You can actually leave it in any one of these. You can actually leave it in any one of these, which is the full back or the center back alone. But basically I choose the whole of this. Why? In case any of them is being pressed, my goalkeeper has the option of passing to anyone that he sees that is free at the back. So that's basically that. So we use this option. So distribution type, you have the option of the roll it out, throw it long, take short kicks, and take long kicks. Roll it out is basically your keeper giving the ball to a nearby player, and throw it long basically throws it longer distance. I don't use this option in possession play. Why? You might end up losing the ball. Take short kick, basically this is good for shots or possession football. Why? Because the goalkeeper plays the ball with his feet. Take long kicks, you end up losing the ball. Roll it out is good for possession football as well, but I don't usually use this. I go for the short kick, but you going for the roll it out, the goalkeeper will basically roll it to a nearby player, and he might end up losing the ball if he's being pressed. So go for the short kicks. So we're done with this option. So now what we have to do now, we'll go to the out of possession. So the out of possession, here you have two lines. The first line, the down line here is basically your defensive line. So you have the option of going much lower defensive line, standard defensive line, higher defensive line, or much higher defensive line. So all these options here, you can use it. It depends on the style of play you use. Maybe if you're playing defensive style of football, you can use a much lower or standard. But if you're playing attacking style of football, position style of football, you need the higher defensive line or much higher defensive line. So the second line here we have is the mid. Okay, for the sake of possession football, we'll be using the much higher, which I usually use, but you can decide if you are scared, because the higher you go, the more likely you might concede goals. So if you are scared, you can use the much higher, or you leave it in standard, but I will advise you to use either higher or much higher. So but I'll be leaving it at much higher since we're using a superior team. So you have the line of engagement. Line of engagement is basically what area of the pitch your team will start their press or start pressing the opposition. So you have the option of low block, which is basically if you are using a defensive style of football, or you have the option of mid block, which is basically low block is basically around this area, which is this opposite your own box. Mid block is basically your own half, and high press is basically you pressing your opponent at their own, up to their own half and their own box. So now we have the option, we are done with that, so we'll leave it at high press. So in the trigger press is how your team presses the opposition. Do they press less often, much less often, or less often, or standard, or more often, or much more often? Much more often if you are playing the very high press, where you basically press the team at every single opportunity. Much often you basically press the team at maybe their own half. Standard, basically sometimes the team might decide to choose when to press and when not to press. Less often the team rarely presses, and much less often the team hardly presses at all. Okay, that's that. So basically we leave it at much more often because we're a possession team and we want to win the ball or take hold of the ball as much as possible. So now you have the option of prevent shot goalkeeper distribution. This is you. This one determines whether you want to allow the opposition keeper to take short kicks or what have you. So you can. So basically, I decide to press. I choose prevent short kicks. Why? Because by doing that, the opposition keeper will end up playing long balls, or if it risks trying to pass to his own goalkeeper, to his own defenders, he might end up losing the ball and creating chances for me, or possibly leading to goals. So tackling style, this is much more how you want your team to tackle the opposition. Do you want them to stay on feet? Staying on feet, your team will try to avoid as much as possible sliding tackles and what have you, and it might prevent your team from getting red cards and what have you. So get stuck in. Your team goes for every 50-50 challenge in a very aggressive and strong manner, and it might lead to your players getting booked. Okay, so basically I don't choose any of these. I allow my team to decide for themselves. So defensive line, you have the option of step up more or drop off more. So stepping up more is basically you're asking your defenders to press typically higher up the pitch in an effort to compact the midfield. Because let's assume you don't do a step up option often, you see your defenders will be more space. There'll be more space between your defenders and your central midfielders, and the opposition will have enough chance to break your press. So you leave it step up more, but drop off your team. Your defenders will usually fall back, and by falling back, it will invite the opposition to take chances. So we'll leave it at the option of step up more. So now in the pressing trap is basically how where you want to lead the opposition to, in order for them to. It's just like basically you setting a trap for the opposition, and with them falling to that area where you feel that your team will be able to win back the ball. So you have the option of trap inside. Trap inside is basically if you select it, is you trapping the opposition in this area of the pitch, which I rarely use. Instead, I prefer to trap outside. Trapping outside is basically the flank or the byline. Why? Because by doing this, will prevent the opposition from having more passing range. Like I said earlier, there's an artificial line here, which is a throwing line or what have you. So by preventing the opposition by leading the opposition to this particular section of the pitch, you block their passing range. So they either have here to pass to, or passing the ball forward or going backward. So basically, you blocking this area. With blocking this area, you prevent, and having more people there, you prevent the opposition from having a lot of passing options. But you keeping it in this center area, the opposition might still have more people to pass to or options to pass to. So basically, you have to have good players or superior players in the central area, or more numbers in the central area. So I usually go with the trap outside option. So cross engagement, you have the option of stop crosses. Stop crosses is basically you preventing the opposition from crossing to your penalty area. So, or you have invite crosses. So invite crosses is basically you align the opposition to cross to your penalty area, but with the mindset that you have more superior players than the opposition forwards. So basically, I just leave it. I don't engage any of that. I allow my team to choose for themselves. So that's for the out of possession. So we're done with how we want our team to play, the system we want our team to play. So now we have to go to the player role. So you can click any part of the screen to bring that down. So player role. So now we have to decide what role we have to give our goalkeeper. So what role do we give him? We have the option of a goalkeeper and sweeper keeper. So if we are playing a defensive style or a low block, our advice is to go for the goalkeeper. But since we are playing a high line and we need our keeper to run across the pitch to win back ball when our defenders are not there, like the Emmanuel Noah or Ter Stegen aspect. So we'll go for sweeper keeper, or Ederson style of play, we'll go for sweeper keeper on attack mode. So defensive shape, the center backs, what do we go for? We have the option of the central defender, ball playing defender, or no nonsense. So we'll go for the ball playing defender since we're a possession style playing team. At defend. Okay, so now they say the main job of the ball playing defender is to stop the opposition attackers from playing and to clear the ball from danger when required. The ball playing defender is encouraged to launch defense splitting through balls from deep to generate counter-attacking opportunities. So that's that. So that's the reason why we're choosing that. So yeah, this is it. So now for our fullbacks, you have the option of going for either a fullback or a wing back. So I will explain why I'm doing this. But basically I go for the wing backs at both sides. But for this I will just go for one fullback and one wing back, fullback at support, and the wing back at attack. Now, one of the difference between a wing back that I've noticed between a wing back and a fullback, he overlaps, but a fullback can cross the ball from any area that I feel that is an opportunity. With wing back, most of the time, always run down the byline until he gets to the opposition area before he crosses the ball. That's just that. So, okay, they said wing back. Usually, playing out wing with a wing back must fulfill all the attacking and defensive duties of a winger and fullback. In attack duty, wing back aim to overlap down the flank to provide wide support for attack, run at his man and get crosses from the byline. In attack, a wing back must be prepared to run at his man and put in aggressive crosses. In midfield, he must go to midfield to help with possession battle, and in defense to close down opposition. Basically, most of the time when you have a wing back, most of the time you see them turn to an inverted wing back. That's why sometimes you see like the Trent Arnold, you see him here, or sometimes you see him here. Basically, he plays this area of the pitch like this, stuff like that. But a fullback most of the time basically just focuses on his byline. So for the fullback, we'll keep it in support, and the wing back will keep it in attack. It does that. Okay, so for our defensive midfielder, what do we have? We have the option of going for a defensive midfielder, deep line playmaker, or ball winning midfielder. Okay, basically I usually use the ball playing midfielder. Why? Because the ball playing midfielder usually focuses on this area of the pitch. He can go to help the wing back or the full back when they've lost the ball or when they are being attacked, and sometimes the central midfield. But basically, it protects and helps out with the centre backs as well. So that's basically the work of the ball playing midfielder. And usually I keep him in support. Why? So that he can help in attack as well when we're in possession of the ball. But for a defensive midfielder, for an anchor, if you select an anchor basically just protect this area of the pitch, the central area of the pitch, and the defensive and the centre back area of the pitch. So basically we won't choose the anchor. Okay, let me get the defensive fullback. The ball playing midfielder for you. They say plays in central midfield. The ball playing midfielder aims to function as a main function is to close down the opposition and win the ball. He also needs the technical skills to help the team keep possession and fashion out chances for players with attacking role. In support duty, he aims to win the ball back high up the pitch and support resulting counter-attacking opportunity. Like I said earlier, so most of the time he helps out here and occasionally he scores as well. Okay, you have for the central midfielders, what do we put? Firstly, most of the time I go with, you can decide to go with the box-to-box central midfielder, but for the sake of this, we'll be going with the roaming playmaker. Why? We're going for the roaming playmaker. Okay, let's see. In support duty, he only has support duty. The roaming playmaker is the heartbeat of the team, driving forward with the ball to spearhead attacks as well as tracking back to cover defensively, always offering a passing option to teammates. The roaming playmaker must have the physical attribute to maintain a high intensity as well as technical attribute to stamp its authority on the game. Okay, that's that. Most times this way you see the roaming playmaker. He plays all around here, and sometimes in the box. Sometimes helps out in defense as well, because since we're a team that plays with everyone as well, everyone getting involved, we need our players not just playing one position but at least helping in attack and in defense as well. So in this other central midfield, what do we have? We'll go for the advanced playmaker. Usually I leave him in attack, but you can decide to leave him in support. But I'm leaving mine in attack. In attack, he operates in the central midfield. Okay, he helps in the attacking midfield or wide positions. So basically, most of the time you will see him here or here as well, helping out in attack here as well, and sometimes in the box as well. He does that, so we'll leave him there. Okay, for our wingers, what do we have? Most times I see people do this. They use one inside forward in attack, and they use maybe a winger or inverted winger. So basically, I prefer to go with, I don't do that, I prefer to go with two inside forwards in attack. And one of the things I've come to understand about football is that basically, because Pep uses a tactics in Man City, doesn't mean that tactics is going to work in Burnley. So since we're using a superior team, I can afford to use keep most of my attackers in attack. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that why I leave both of them in attack is basically I want my two of my inside forwards always here and here. And when I have three people here, or when we are in attack, we have something like this. Let me show you. When we are in attack, we have something like this most of the time because I need my inside forwards there. Then our wing back comes here, and most times when we are in attack, our fullback has the opportunity to come here. So basically, this is what we have here. So basically, most of the time we'll be attacking with almost 7 to 8 players. This is how when we are attack, we'll have our formation. This is how my team will be set up, and then you have the center back somewhere around here when we are in attack. So basically, this is how this will be the shape of the team during attacking period. So let's take that back. So let's set that in support. I was just basically trying to show you guys how the team will be shaped during attacking period or attacking phases. In attack, this one defend, this one defend, here pump up playmaker in support, roaming playmaker in support, in attack, this inside forward, inside forward in attack. So that's that. So what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to in Football Manager and also in real life football, basically as a manager you have the choice of deciding how you want your team to play. Not because you see a tactics online means that the tactics is always going to work for you. You have to have the right personnel and the right players to do it. Because most times, okay, under Inzaghi now, most times you see the defenders playing the attacking role as well. And in Man United, sometimes you see Maguire also trying to help in attack. So that's just basically it. So that's what I'm just trying to say. You can decide. That's why I said you can do the simple instructions and from there see how your team play and perform, and then you can decide to tweak a little or change, or if it's not working for you, you change totally. But one of the things, like I said earlier, I said something about familiarity. That's why most of the time, even if my team isn't performing well, most of the time I don't actually change formation or change tactics during the season. Instead, I prefer to play a tactics during the pre-season period, and that's why you have the option of creating 3 tactics here, so your team can get familiar with it. And by having 3 tactics, if one isn't working for you, you can switch to the second or the third one. But trying to learn a new tactics during the season can be hard if you're not on form or don't have a good team. You can end up losing most of your game, and the tactics might not be the problem, but your team might be the problem. Basically, your team isn't the problem, you as the manager is the problem, and you might get sacked from the club. So basically, try to teach your team, or at least they should have an average understanding of the formation before the season starts. So this is it. Okay, now to our forward, we need, since we are playing a pressing and possession type of football with short pass, most of the time our advice is to go for you have the option of going for either the advanced forward, complete forward, or pressing, or even the first 9. So basically, in FM currently, the advanced forward can be played by, or pressing forward can be played by basically any striker, and first 9 can be played by basically any striker. So, but the complete forward need a special set of skills to play. So basically, in order to play this, you will have to use an advanced forward to play this. So we'll be leaving an advanced forward. Okay, they say, what is the advanced forward? The advanced forward, his main role is to lead the line and look to spearhead attacking moves. His primary duty is to be the focal point of attacking moves and is required to score and create goals. The secondary role is to chase down misplaced through balls or clearance, which we basically need for our pressing football. win possession and lay off passes or crosses to his teammates. The advanced forward is only available with attack role, so you can see it's self-explanatory as well. So basically guys, that's that for how to start a tactics from scratch. So basically we have our SK, our sweeper keeper, our ball playing midfield defender, our wing back and full back, or you can decide to go for 2 wing back but keep it in support. You can go for the role playing the roaming playmaker and the advanced player. You have the inside forwards and advanced forward. Basically, like I said, I see people use the winger here in support and the inside forward, but basically most of the time I try to use the inside forward. Why? Based on how Madrid plays the game, in the sense that you have Rodrigo here, and then you have Mbappe here, or Vinicius here and Rodrigo here. So basically guys, that's all for that. So if you please like and subscribe if you like this, and also if you have any suggestion or where you think there's a mistake, you can suggest in the comment section and we'll work from there. Or if you have anything you want me to talk about or explain to you, please lay it down in the comment section and hopefully I'll be able to do that. Thanks very much guys, much appreciated. So that's that for today. Thanks.